All right, guys, we got some big news here, and there's some dissension in the ranks here in Russia and the Ukraine war with Vladimir Putin. Take a look at this. The head of the infamous Wagner Group is calling on Putin to declare the end of the war. This is somebody within the own Russian army here. Here's what he's saying to Vladimir Putin. This is very interesting. Vensky Prigozhin, leader of the Wagner Group, asked the Russian authorities to declare the end of the war and concentrate on gaining a foothold in the occupied territories of Ukraine. In a comment distributed by his press service, quote, "For the authorities of the Russian Federation, and for society as a whole, it is necessary to put some kind of bold full stop in the special military operation. The ideal option is to announce the end of the special military operation, which is basically the Ukraine war, to inform everyone that Russia has achieved the results that it planned. And in a sense, we have really achieved them." This is what he's saying, right? I'll get to this here. I'll get to what my thoughts are in a second. "We have ground a huge number of soldiers of the armed forces of Ukraine and can report to ourselves that our task has been completed. Theoretically, Russia has already received this full stop by destroying a large part of the active male population of Ukraine." Just think about what they're saying here. This is their goal, to destroy a huge population of another country and intimidating another part of it that has fled to Europe. Russia has cut off the Azov Sea and a large chunk of the Black Sea, seized a fat chunk of Ukraine's territory, and created a land corridor to Crimea. The territory claims that Russia can only gain a firm foothold, cling to the territories that already exist. At the same time, the leader of this group believes that there is one problem that the war has caused. If earlier Ukraine was part of a former Russia, now it is absolutely national-oriented state. The leader of this group wrote an entire article where he reflects on the importance of Bakhmut, which they've been fighting over for really months at this point and have not been able to really gain a lot of ground here. The leak of the Pentagon documents and the upcoming offensive of the armed forces. The occupier is against any negotiations with Ukraine and wants the forces of Russia and Ukraine to meet in battle. Now, from a Russian point of view, this kind of makes sense because Russia really isn't gaining any ground at this point at all. They've been fighting in Bakhmut for a while now at this point, and it's kind of a stalemate for the time being. But in a practical sense, this doesn't really end the war because they would still be controlling about 15% or so of Ukraine. And Ukraine doesn't want to give up their land. So Ukraine isn't going to just, in my opinion, you can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. Everything that Ukraine has said about peace negotiations is Russia has to leave the country. Okay. Russia's peace negotiations, if these are even negotiations from either side, Russia says we're going to keep all the land that these, fake votes, that Russia says were real, that United Nations, basically the whole world voted on it. 99% of the world said these weren't legitimate votes. Russia says, oh no, all that territory that we voted on, that Ukraine voted on, we're going to keep that territory, some of which they don't even occupy at this point. So Russia's going to keep that land, and Ukraine doesn't want to give up that land. Again, some of which Russia doesn't even occupy. So you can see the kind of problems here. Now, the leader of this Wagner group is actually a little bit more practical than Putin because them just occupying and controlling the territory there is more practical than them trying to take over more land, which they've actually lost more land than they originally took over when they first started the war, when they had the element of surprise. Ukraine has actually taken back a decent amount of land since then. And since the rest of the world has actually stepped up and provided them with a bunch of more of defense equipment, anti-air equipment, and now the tanks are coming in, and now the jets are coming in. So really, since then, Russia has not really taken over any ground. They've lost ground. So if anything, this might be a chance for Putin to save some face and say, okay, we're ending the war, but in all practical reality matters is that they're still going to occupy 15% or so of Ukraine. And to Ukraine, that's not ending the war. That would be like, I mean, remember this story here, right? So last year, top Russian lawmakers threatened that Russia may reclaim Alaska. They actually did it again here just recently. I'll show you this here in a second. I'll actually show you a news clip of them saying this here. But the top Russian lawmakers, let me zoom this in here. Top Russian lawmakers warned that the United States, that Russia may seek to reclaim Alaska in retaliation for U.S. sanctions over the invasion in Ukraine. During a parliamentary session in Moscow, this was back in July, the Speaker of the State Duma, the lower house of the Russian Federal Assembly, told the U.S. to think twice before seizing Russian assets abroad, reminding the U.S. that Alaska once belonged to Russia and that the Kremlin may want that land back. That Russia may want Alaska back, saying, quote, "Let America always remember there is a part of Russian territory, Alaska," Volodin said, according to a Ukrainian media outlet. Quote, "So when U.S. lawmakers attempt to appropriate our assets abroad, they should be aware that we also have something to claim back, aka Alaska." Then here, back in February, Russian state TV revives efforts to reclaim Alaska from US. Here's the actual footage on Russian state TV. Take a look here.
Мы, конечно, империя большая, огромная. Венский конгресс признал принадлежность Варшавы Российской империи. Венский конгресс признал принадлежность Финляндии Российской империи. И, в принципе, я согласен вернуться не к хельсинским границам, но хотя бы к границам Венского конгресса, уважая международное право.
Now, Russia sold Alaska to the U.S. here like 200 years ago, but this just kind of gives you, and remember that they said there that that Finland was a part of Russia as well. This just gives you the kind of rhetoric of what Russia actually thinks and what they actually say in Russia and to their people. This is what they think over there. So, and remember, they're trying to take over Ukraine right now. They're actively in war to take over their land. So if you think that this stuff can't happen, look at what is happening in Ukraine. It's actually happening over there. So I know you can't make this stuff up. You think that this stuff can't happen, but it is happening over there. Remember a little bit over a year ago when people said, "Oh, Russia will never invade Ukraine. That 150,000 troops that they put in the border there, they're not going to invade. That's just Warmongering, fear mongering. They're not going to do that. That's just people fear mongering. They're not going to those 150,000 troops. They're not going to do that. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why else would they put 150,000 or 200,000 troops on the border? Why would they be moving all this military equipment every single day there? To me, it looks like they're going to. And sure enough, here we are over a year later. I mean, before you know it, it's going to be a year and a half later. And the next thing you know is they're going to be saying, oh, this land's ours permanently. Well, in fact, they've already said that they're never going to give up this land. So, I mean, you guys let me know your thoughts here in the comments, but how do you reason with somebody like that? And then they're saying, oh, we could reclaim Alaska. Oh, Finland's ours. And here's the thing is you're only one step away from a World War III type of situation. If, remember here that here's NATO's website. Finland just joined NATO here just a few days ago. Finland became NATO's newest member here at the just a few days ago upon depositing its instrument of accession to the North American Treaty Association with the United States at the NATO headquarters in Brussels. Yeah. So if Russia attacks Finland, if Russia attacks the US, if Russia attacks any country in NATO, if any country attacks any country in NATO, it's a declaration of war against all the countries in NATO and the United States. And this is where it's like, how do you reason with a country like this? They're literally unreasonable. But I mean, I don't even think they're reasonable, but tell me what they're reasonable about. So you guys can let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. I'm trying to actually line up some special guests here on our show. I actually had to actually buy a new mic to get it to work here for Zoom. So yeah, so stay tuned for that here, and I'll keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. So if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe down below to our YouTube channel. It's completely free to do so. New videos come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's completely free. Thanks for liking and sharing these videos. Here's some videos you should watch next. President Biden actually just signed a big bill, and it's going to change a lot of things for millions of Americans. You can click here to see that video. And here's actually some good news from the IRS for millions of Americans as well. So click on one of those videos. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.